my ticket, and I was like, I want one of those. I could go to the front of the line. And I worked my way through the system because I really wanted something different in my life. But 6 years earlier, I wouldn't have wanted that. I wouldn't have thought my life would have taken me to reality TV and telling the world what I weighed while wearing my spandex. I mean, it's just not pretty. But you see, it started with a phone call. It was a phone call I got from my mother. I was around about 18 years old, and this was my first quote-unquote real job. It was real because I had a desk, I had files, I had drawers, and I had a pencil cup. That to me signified my real job. I graduated from daycare and fast food, and now I had a desk. I didn't have a nameplate, but that didn't matter. I had a desk, and I felt important. I felt like my life was finally, I was growing up. At 18, you want to feel like you're growing up. Well, I get a call, middle of the day. I've only been in this brand new job for about a week. So when my mom calls and quickly kind of rushes through some information, she goes on to tell me, hey, Michelle, I just wanted to let you know, when you get home, I won't be there. Okay, where are you going to be? Michelle, I need to let you know that when you get home, I won't be there because I'm leaving your father. And it sucked the air out of the room. It ripped the rug out from underneath me in that moment. Because here I was, what I believed to be a happy young girl with very loving parents. I'm the second oldest of 5 children, and I thought that we were good Christian family. And not that it wouldn't happen to us, but that it couldn't happen to us. Because we had served our time. We had been involved in ministry as long as I can remember. And I thought it won't happen to us. Sure, divorce had affected the lives of some of my friends and even some of my family members. But I thought for sure it wouldn't happen to me. And as if that wasn't the worst news I had ever heard in my entire life, that my mother was going to be leaving my father, my mom went on to say that she would be taking my sisters with her. My 2 sisters. She said, Michelle, I know that you're a daddy's girl, and that's why I'm not taking you. But all I could think of was, but you're not going to try. You're not going to fight just a little bit for me. What must be wrong with me? Given the choice, I would have chosen my father over my mom. Because I was and am a daddy's girl. But that wasn't what I needed to hear in those moments. Because this wasn't a family conversation. This was a phone call in the middle of my day. And in that moment, my mom taught me a lesson that I don't think she would ever have intended to teach me. And that was to quit on someone before they have a chance to quit on you. If things are too tough, run away. If things are too difficult, give up. Those were all the things that I heard in those moments. My mom and I would ultimately come to the place of me looking at her and her looking at me, and I would say to her, Mom, I'm going to have to love you from a distance. And instantly that trust between a mom and a daughter, woman to woman, was broken. For 6 years, my mom and I would not speak a word to each other. But I tell you what, nobody in my life knew, because I put on a smile. I put on the appearance of still being a happy-go-lucky girl. I, business-wise, moved up the ladder, became more and more important, and poured myself into my job. And I'll tell you what, 95% of the people in my world never even knew that my parents were divorced, because I didn't want to talk about it. My relationships with women became more and more toxic because I didn't trust them. All I could think of was at some point they're going to let me down. And so to stand in a room full of women back then would have been really tough. So I needed to change my life. 6 years. I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to alcohol. Because for me, that wasn't socially acceptable. So I did the socially acceptable thing. I turned to food for comfort. You know, back in our church and stuff, we don't call it, going out, and it's not overeating. You're just fellowshipping. We're all in here just networking, fellowshipping. So it's socially acceptable. It's the easy way to kind of blend in. And food is good. It's great for a moment, and then you feel bad. You're like, why did I have that cupcake? And I'm not looking at any of your cake on the table. Have it. It's calorie-free day. So I found myself on a path of needing to truly change my life. I was tired of keeping up the front. I'd become addicted to whitening my teeth because I wanted to protect a smile to present to the world. But I knew, much like my doctor, my dentist who looked me in the eye and said, Michelle, white teeth don't mean healthy teeth. And I was like, what does that mean? But I knew deep down it meant that, Michelle, a smile doesn't represent happy. Just because you have a smile on your face doesn't mean you're happy. Doesn't mean you're full of joy. It just means you have a smile on your face. White teeth are white teeth. They're not healthy teeth. So, The Biggest Loser. A chance to change my life. Believe it or not, I actually auditioned for season 5. And I auditioned with my dad. We were going to go as a team and show the world this dynamic father-daughter duo. And we were going to have a great time. Well, we got so close. We became the first alternates for season 5. And if any of you guys watched that year, you know that we didn't make the show. It wasn't us. And that Allie Vincent would go on to win the show. And I look at that and think, there's no way I could have even beat her. There's no way. She was so tough. Thank God I wasn't on that show. But season 6 rolled around, and I get a phone call. It's The Biggest Loser. And they want to talk to me. And all of a sudden I turn to my dad, my buddy, my pal. And I'm like, Dad, let's do it. Let's go through all the red tape again. And he said no. Because it was my little sister's senior year. And he works for an airline, and to get that kind of time off was difficult the first time. It would have been impossible the second time. But he knew that my mom and I, just a few months prior, had begun to make small attempts to communicate. It started when she came to my job for my birthday. She was holding a blue box with a white bow, and so I was like, okay, we can talk. It was Tiffany, I mean, what can you not fix with Tiffany? I mean, it was a great icebreaker back into communicating, But it started slow. We only had a very surface relationship, not, a bonded mother-daughter relationship. It's very surface. It was jewelry. I mean, that was us. And so my dad knew this. He knew that we were making small attempts. And so he said, why not audition for The Biggest Loser? Because you have to have a teammate. Why not audition with your mom? I was like, I don't know. But then I started to think about it. I'm like, well, it's a big ranch. There's lots of people there. I can make friends. It'll be fine. I'll ask her. Surely we won't spend that much time together. I'm sure it'll be fine. I call her. She jumps at the opportunity, not just to change her life physically, but to get some quality time with me, because we had lost so much. What I didn't know is that the joke would ultimately be on me on day 1 of